From the Charleston County School Board's controversial pay raise vote and repeal to crimes in North Charleston to Catherine Templeton's comments about the Confederate flag, I sit down one-on-one with Dot Scott of the Charleston branch of the NAACP one-on-one for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And be sure to download the free Quintin's Close-Ups app in your Apple or Google Play stores. Dot, it is so good to see you.
It is always wonderful to sit and chat with you as well.
I appreciate it. Oh, anytime. As a matter of fact, I was talking with you on the phone just yesterday, and you had some good news to tell me.
Good news, really good news. We have taken really serious look at folks that we can recognize this year, with this being our 100th year. People who made a difference in the lives of this community, not just for Black people, but for the entire community.
Right.
We were really had that as the front of our focus, and we were able to identify some people. I think even the community is going to be proud of the fact that of our selection, and you happen to be one of them.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes, we're looking forward to a wonderful event at the Gilliard on the 23rd of September.
Right.
And we've got some wonderful people helping us to make it a success. So I think Charleston's going to not only be pleased, Charleston will be proud.
In fact, the headline from PulseandCorey.com reads this: Joe Biden will be the keynote speaker for the Charleston NAACP's 100th anniversary fundraiser. As a matter of fact, you told the Post and Courier during a news conference this, quote, "We look forward to his words of hope and a time of challenge for our nation," unquote. Tell me, what is that time like in this nation? As you say, is a time of challenge for this nation.
Time of challenge, and I gotta just mention his name again. One senator now, 47th Vice President of the United States of America. He is someone that I think that he is an example of what I call bridge building and the inclusiveness and the attention to the least of ours, and just having him, and he's accepted our invitation before in 2006, I think even 2006 or 2009, but he was our keynote speaker then.
Okay.
And so we are just honored to have him.
Right.
But at a time not only our national political environment and the rollbacks of so many of the, what I call civil rights issues, to have the messaging coming from the top now about not enforcing issues around the justice system in terms of law enforcement or education access or immigration status or treatment of our transgenders or our gay and lesbian community. Those are issues to us that are fundamentally issues that are on our radar in terms of working toward resolution and solution for civil rights for everybody. And so that's the message around that now is why I call it this a time of challenge. And we have to be doubly involved and focus on making sure that those rights are not turned back. And if so, what do we do to keep moving forward, not only in our local community, state, and also at the national level. So we have to stay engaged.
As you talk about the Gilliard Center right next door, 75 Calhoun Street, which is the buildings for the City of Charleston and Charleston County School Board. Let me go to the Charleston County School Board, because this headline from the Chronicle reads this: CCSD salary increases may look bad, but is the right thing to do. As you know, last week, Thursday, the Charleston County School Board repealed its controversial pay raise vote 5-4. As we sit here right now, Doc, what does that 5-4 vote tell you?
That division where most of our votes come down along racial line. That's unfortunate, but it happens all the time. I agree I actually disagree with the assessment that it was the right thing to do.
Okay.
Now, when I say a right thing to do, not the fact of whether or not the pay, the equity match or mirrors other school district. I think that's not in dispute. I think though at a time when our school district seems to not have the money or not spending the money. I want to say that because I'm still thinking about the 18 million that got gone and got lost, and we really never got a resolution for exactly what happened with that. But I happen to be privy enough to know that we have schools now where, fundamental things like reading programs and stuff are being cut back instead of a couple of, 4-5 days where there are issues where it's been reduced. The arts, it's been reduced. So when we look at that, I want our school board elected official to always put the education of these children first. So if you're saying, I don't care where you get the money from, I don't care whether it's in your budget or not, I think we deserve the pay raise. Well, it's unfortunate, it's just the African American school board members who are fighting for it. If I, as an NAACP representative, felt that, okay, well, the other school board members are being paid one thing and you guys are being paid anything, I'd be on the line with them. Everybody's suffering through this at the same time. So I think people need to be mindful that to offer yourself for election to a position, you're offering service to the community and you're saying, I'm willing to do this service for free. Now, rightfully so, I feel like they should be compensated for, travel, food, those kinds of stuff. Okay. But the giving of your time, you're saying that's what you want to do. You're telling the potential voters, that's what I want to do. I want to do some good. I want to make some changes. If we can't afford to do that, then we need to look and see whether that's where I need to be. So I was really disappointed in that. I don't see it as an issue of disparity, unless we're despairing everybody in the Charleston County School District against the other district. You can look at it that way. But I think the timing was bad. Optics are just horribly ugly. And it's unfortunate in times like this.
Let me stay with controversy. As you know, GOP gubernatorial candidate Catherine Templeton made some headlines recently about her comments about the Confederate flag. She said the following on Twitter just recently. She said this, quote, "I recently come under attack from the press and others for my comments about the Confederate flag. If it's politically incorrect to say I'm a proud daughter of the Confederacy, then call me politically incorrect. My father was named after Judge William Bradley, a Confederate soldier who fought under General Robert E. Lee and lost his arm at the Battle of Seven Pines. I have a son named Hampton and a dog named Dixie, but that doesn't make me a racist. It makes me from South Carolina and proud of it. It's outrageous to me that some people would have me disavow my family and our history. The day the Confederate flag came down, Governor Healy asked all of us to express our support for the future of South Carolina and to start the healing. I was proud to do that, but I will not apologize for loving my family and my state. Our history is not always comfortable, but it made us who we are." When you look at that particular comment and comments, what she said, what sticks out to you?
Let me tell you what grabs me, and it like literally grabs me around the neck. It makes me who I am. That history made Dylan Roof who he was and still is. Because he's not, he is, and disavow that somehow I don't believe that what I did was right. We can be proud of who we are and whose we are, but we still have to remember that part of what makes us who we are is not always good. Because just as she can look back and relish all of her connection to the Confederacy, I can look back and look with horror all of my connection at the hand of the folks she is responding to. So while you can embrace that, there are some things we can quietly embrace, but if you want to fan it in our face, then she needs to be prepared And she shouldn't be horrified about that. She should be prepared for us to stand up and say, it wasn't right then, and it sure is not right now to remind us of it. Because that's what it was. The flag came down not because people of goodwill decided that we're going to take it off. No, people of ill will, someone of ill will did something so ugly that the hearts and mind of some folks said, you know what, maybe this is the time. I am so grateful that at the time we had someone, while I'm not a Republican, and maybe Governor Haley at the time, to me, may not have been someone I had voted for, but I dare to think that maybe if she wasn't in place and we did have Catherine in as the governor, would the flag ever have come down? Because what she's advocating, nothing symbolic of the Confederacy she's willing to do anything about. And we need to remember that. We need to talk about it, and it'll be more conversation. She's going to get some more horrid things being said about it, because we're not going to sit quiet and you rub that, have someone rub it in our face, and we're going to think that it's okay. It's not okay.
You know, let me go back to that quote, because you said that it's outrageous to me that someone would have me disavow my family and our history. So what should she disavow in your mind?
What is she disavowing her family? You can't change who you are. It's like me, I'm going to disavow that my ancestors were slaves. It doesn't matter what comes out of my mouth. The truth is what it is. So you don't have to disavow it. I mean, it doesn't change it. You don't exactly have to go around for political reason. When she talked about politically correct, I don't think she would have come to a gathering of African Americans and decide, let me tell you how I feel about and I'm not going to disavow. I don't think that would have been the conversation. She probably would not have disavowed it, but I think it would not have been so energetic with her support that I need to just let you guys know where I stand. I don't think that happens. It depends on the audience that you're speaking with when it comes to politicians, because as she said, politically correct. It would have been so politically incorrect for her to tell the group she was talking to that somehow I really don't agree that we should continue to embrace. And at the core of this, Quintin, is the fact that, and the op-ed in the piece in the paper pretty much said that, Brian said it. If we keep denying what the truth is, we're riding on something else, because as long as you don't want to admit that it was all about slavery, it was the succession of these states was, you are not going to let me own my slave, and I'm paraphrasing it now. If I can't own my slave, because we really need to have our rice and our cotton, we have to have these workers. If you're not going to let me do that, then we're going to have to disconnect from the union, because I want my state, I want the state to give me the right to decide that I can still use slaves, we can still keep African Americans in bondage as subhumans. That's what she's saying. And until the truth about it, and that's why we usually are not talking about Confederacy until they try to rewrite the history. Because it is what it is, and the documents are there, and maybe some of these one who's got a Dixie dog and all these names that remind you of all the Confederacy. If she really wants to be honest, then take seriously the document that her ancestors put forward. We didn't write it. We just got to a point where we could read it.
Let me move from Columbia to North Charleston. Obviously, just a couple of weeks ago, they had a spike in crimes there. And I know that North Charleston Police Department, as well as the city, are working hard to get guns and whatnot off the streets. Where does your mind go to when you think of the spike in crime there?
First, I'm saddened that it does exist. And I think it's good PR to let the community know we're working at it. Getting it off the street. I want some focus also on figuring out how to not get it allowed to get in the streets, because I think it's easier to get their hands on a gun than it is on some of the stuff that you can get across the counter. It's just that simple. And we have to find out and take it as serious that these young African American men, boys, are getting access to firearms and killing each other at a record number. We don't see it as an epidemic. My case in point on this.
Okay.
Let's look at what's happened with the opioids now. We talk about the numbers, but we don't identify who the victims are. I think that when you begin to see where the majority of the death and I mean just really atrocities happen in terms of the death and suicide and overdosing and how young these people are. If they put that data out there publicly, it would look like, you know what, we have to do this, and they should, rightfully so. If you've got an epidemic like that, as we have with the guns, then we need to put resources there. But we tend not to spend that money because remember, when we had all the crack cocaine and the death among African Americans, we didn't see that. Now, we're not talking about who the victims are of the opioid. We're not hearing that. We just know that the numbers, it is at a crisis. It is at an epidemic, so rightfully so. But how we deal with crisis in our community, where we're willing to spend the money for the resources, when you can have officers, we can find them when they get the gun, and why are we not spending some time trying to find out what else is needed? And one of the things that I've been able to talk with, and I think we're seeing some headway with the city of North Charleston, is resources in terms of in the black community. One of the things I always said about having facilities, not little centers where the seniors go and knit something, but a nice facility like gym and activities and stuff. Until we invest in that kind of what I call quality of life issues in the community, when we figure out, and I don't have the answer for it, where we can get more of the African American male or female detectives in these communities that knows who this kid's parents are, because everything is done very clandestinely with detectives. It has to be done that way. But can you imagine if the folks that are in those neighborhoods were people that knew the people, not looked like them, but actually knew some of the people there, how you can get more support from those communities to help rid those communities with that. But that's not it. If you look at the makeup of our our detective force, it's not representative of the community at all. And we can't continue to say, we just can't find them to qualify, we just can't be. You know what? I learned early on that as the jobs move farther, like your lower level jobs are gone, all of a sudden those people who never qualified to do the next one, they become qualified. So we need to figure out how to do that and seriously address issue in a what I call equal urgency mindset. It doesn't matter what the color of the citizen is. If we've got an epidemic, we need to deal with it as an epidemic. We don't need all of the young white women, males, even older, dying from opioid overdose. We don't need the young black males having access to guns that they're literally killed. We've got 15 and 14-year-old killing, and oftentimes you'll find that there's a trend there because the parent of these children, some of them, they're addicted, maybe not to opioid, but to something else. So here we're more proactive at dealing with this, less proactive with dealing with what ails the other side of our community. So all of what I've hopefully been trying to work with, whether it be with the North Charleston Commission, whether it be with the Sheriff Department, whether it be with the jail, it's my hope that we're coming to a point or headed in a direction that we're going to begin to understand that we all benefit by looking at all of our citizens in a way that said, wherever there is the need, we're willing to put the resources. That has not happened.
Well, Doc Scott, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate this.
As always, as always. You have a good day. And we look forward to seeing you
Yes,
on
September
September
23rd.
23rd.
I'll be there.
Have a good one. Thank you.
Likewise.
And thank you for all you do.
Thank you. I appreciate it.